Welcome to the NHL Fringe podcast. I am your host or co-host, Mike.
I too am your host or co-host, Dave, and I lean more to the co-host than host part because I'll do less talking.
Fair enough. You can find us. We have a real website, nhlfringe.com. You could hit up our Twitter at NHL Fringe, or you could search us on Facebook. I'm sure if you just type in NHL Fringe Podcast, we'll pop up. You can also find me at Zombie Sheridan on Twitter, or go to my blog, aurorawasteland.com.
You can also find me on Twitter at David Ron, RONN, and as I don't really have a website, go to my Sketchcom website, www.theguysfromblank.com. Watch our sketches. Do it now. Wait until you finish listening to this, then go to our website.
Finish and then go. Yeah. It's like 20 minutes and then go. And hopefully, if all goes right, this will be on puckrant.com. If not, you can find us on iTunes. Where we might be anyways. I don't really know.
Awesome.
Okay,
right,
I'll start us out.
What you got for us today, Mike? I'm sure it's something amazing.
So I've been told that, apparently we walked the line last week of good taste. I don't see why. So I'm going to try to walk the line a little bit better.
In that maybe. You're going to try and walk it and walk closer to the line, or maybe not go quite
the line
close.
Is a dot to me. I don't see the line at all.
This is why we're not going to end up on the website.
Exactly. See you on iTunes. Okay, so here, there's a press conference. NHL headquarters. Okay. Gary Bettman comes down the steps. Very, dressed in a suit. He's looking very lawyery, like he did the whole lockout.
Yes, he does, yeah.
Comes down. We got TSN, Sportsnet, CBC, everybody's there. And whoever covers hockey in the States, I don't know. And they're all there. And he comes out and he says, I just left a very important meeting. We're going to have some player changes happening. Listen, this is going to sound really weird, but I'm going to need you to believe me, and we're going to have to take these actions if we want this league to survive. I just had a meeting with God. He came down to the NHL office, and he was like, listen, Gary, I like your league, but if you want those two expansion teams, and if you want to get revenues high enough to get the salary cap higher, I'm going to need you to do some things for me. I'm going to need you to sacrifice the best player on every team for me. And so, what's Gary supposed to do at this point? He said yes, and so we're here at the press conference, so we're there, and what's his name? What's the guy from the Players Union?
Donald Fair.
Yes, he comes down and he's like, I was there with Gary. I packed this 100%.
Okay, so first of all, this is unprecedented because it's the first time the NHLPA and the NHL have ever agreed on anything.
Exactly.
Okay,
that's bigger than the fact that somebody talked to God.
Or that we have to sacrifice players. Like, if they're agreeing with it,
we should probably just do
legit.
it. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Who do I kill?
Yeah. So everybody believes because these two men don't agree on anything.
Yeah.
So TSN has their live TSN sacrifice coverage, and it's like the draft, where every team has like their spot and they're going reverse order from worst to best. Nobody knows which player is actually their best. The GMs are down there on the floor trying to pick which player they should sacrifice. And it has to be their best. So if you're a GM, do you try to actually sacrifice your best player? Or do you try to be like, you try to lie and be like, oh, we thought he was our best player.
Well, as a Flames fan, I feel like it's kind of moot anyway. But
what if it was your what's his name?
Berchi?
Monahan.
Oh, Monahan.
No, Monahan.
Oh, yeah.
He's probably your best player, right?
Well, which is depressing because he's a rookie. But I don't know. He might be. At this point, he probably is.
If God came down and was like, "Listen, we need you to sacrifice your best player," would you say like, "Well, he's young. Maybe we could lie and say it was somebody else"? Or do you just be like, yes, take
I'm
Monahan?
telling you, Brian McGrattan is our best player. He's
Yeah.
completely invaluable. Well, here's my question: what are the ramifications if we don't sacrifice our best player? Because
Well, the team folds automatically, right? And all GMs, they don't know this, but they'll probably be killed.
well, that might help the Flames.
But they don't know that.
So the team folds. So basically, there's no way that they can get away with it.
Well, but they don't really know that. So you as a GM, all you're told is that you have to pick your best player. Do you think as a GM you would try to be like, listen, Gary's crazy. He's fucked up. Let's give him some shitty prospect that we weren't going to sign anyways. Or do you actually go for it? Calgary's first because they're the worst in the league, so they have to sacrifice first.
You're such a good friend. I'm so glad we do this.
Somehow Buffalo got ahead of them this season, and
so I'm sitting there in the press conference, and we hear Donald Fair and Gary Bettman say this. So obviously we have to do it because they're agreeing on something.
Right.
Do we kill our best players?
Just one, and you can do it whatever way you want.
We kill our best players.
Yeah.
You can do it however you want?
Yes.
Okay. What about the legality? Are the cops here being like, this is legit, we're going to allow this? Or are you all of a sudden, are there going to be 30 people tried for murder as well?
God really wasn't specific about that.
Well, I guess that doesn't negate either way there's going to be a murder.
I think this to touch on last week, I think this would give us the NHL higher ratings.
Probably.
I don't think they would hesitate on this.
Ritual sacrifice before the game is like, okay, you're here to see the game now. First, let's kill somebody. I think you have to. I think you have to kill your best player, right?
I think if you're Pittsburgh, you're like, fuck. You gotta kill Sidney Crosby.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're Pittsburgh,
but if you're
you also
Calgary,
you also have
that's true.
James Neal, you have Evgeny Malkin.
True.
Every other season, you have Marc-Andre Fleury.
No, that's a good point. Yeah.
If you're the Flames, it's
like
it's
not playoffs.
Crap.
Yeah, we only have one good guy.
Yeah. And we use the term "good" loosely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's my question: why does God want him to kill the best player? If he really likes the league, why is he?
But it's
this is a great league. Let's kill all the best players and make it suck more.
He wants to, to prove that you're willing to do what you have to do for the league.
Business is business.
Exactly. You want that salary cap up over $70 million?
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have a lot of cap space if you kill the best player on every team anyways.
That is true. That is very true. So because then there's teams being a Flames fan, but also being a Bruins fan and having watched them a couple times a couple weeks ago. I don't know I'm sure they have a standout player, but on a team like that, it'd be a harder decision because it's like you've got Iginla, you've got Lucic, you've got Krejci. You've got all these guys who are really solid hockey players, but are any of them heads and tails above anybody else? Maybe Tuukka Rask or Zdeno Chara.
I'd say Chara would probably be the one I would pick, but yeah, you're right. Some teams, even LA. Yeah. Who would you pick from LA?
Would you pick? I assume you pick Taves, right? Because he's better than Kane, right?
I don't know.
But in that situation,
I think if you don't have Kane, I think your team. It sucks. He's a pretty awesome player, but I think Taves is such a good leader. He makes Kane better.
Yeah, no.
I think if Kane was the only one on that team, I don't think they'd do as well. Yeah. But
okay, so in those situations, do you think they get punished if it's we thought that Kane was our best, or genuinely, we legitimately thought that Lucic was our best player.
Well, maybe that helps your franchise, like you said, we thought Barchi was better than Monahan, and then, what's his name is dead, and we got a new GM now,
God disagreed
who
with
apparently
you,
can actually,
JP's
track our talent.
Huh.
So once that's all over,
good. So
the players that are still around, the ones that survived, do you think they still try as hard? Because what if this happens again? Like, what if you like you're like I could get this empty net goal, but that would put me in the team lead. Maybe I'll just dump it in the corner.
Or Patrick Stefanik.
Yeah. Do you think
Oops,
like players
over
just
my stick.
do they just maybe pull it back a little bit? Don't try quite as hard every shift.
Oh God, I hope not. Because eventually it would just be a game of calamity. It would be like the Washington Generals versus the Washington Generals.
Yeah.
Yes, that is the Harlem Globetrotters reference. Man, I don't know. Because you have to think it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing, right? Like, God's not going to, every 5 years, be like, okay, now it's time to kill another player.
That's true, but I mean...
But do you want to take that chance?
Or is that like an honorable thing? Like, I was the best player on the Edmonton Oilers. Uh-oh. Are you still there, Dave?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Oh, okay. It just cut out for a second. Okay. I feel like it's like like a pride thing. It's like, I'm the best player on the Edmonton Oilers, and I died because of it.
I
guess. Like, if you like, would that be something people strived for? Like, you don't win the Stanley Cup. You want to be sacrificed for your team every 5 years.
The NHL brought to you by the Mayans.
Yeah.
Huh.
Kids are playing street hockey, and they're like, sacrifice me! Yay!
Oh, man, it would bring on a whole... Like, you could have, like, ritualistic sacrifices at the beginning of the season. You know how
exactly.
guy retires and they retire his jersey or something like that instead of, like...
Yeah, it's like, we're not hanging your jersey. We're hanging you from the roof. There's Yzerman. There's Shanahan.
Just hanging from the rafters. Wearing their jerseys so you can tell which one
exactly.
it is. It's just skeletons.
Yeah.
Every now and then a toe falls onto the ice. Oh, hang on.
Yeah. And that's kind of like people throwing an octopus on the ice now. It's like when a body part falls on.
I like it. I mean, I don't. That's a terrifying concept. But I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, yeah. That's all I got.
Oh, good. I'm glad we went with realism on this first one. That's a good thing. It really sets the bar for any subsequent podcast we got here. Oh, Lordy. All right. Well, following that. So I've been researching just random fun stories. I started just in the NHL and everything like that. And so, but man, I have come across a couple doozies from around the world, and I've got one that I'm going to bring up later. But
okay.
I want to talk about goalie superstitions.
Okay.
Like, I would say of professional athletes, goaltenders are some of the most superstitious people, period, end sentence. It's just...
Yeah, I've heard that. Probably them and probably maybe pitchers or something.
Yeah, pitchers, and like, I feel like it's the positions where you end up, like, where you spend a lot of time on your own. Like, pitchers are out there isolated on a mound, and goaltenders are in the crease. Like, there's not a lot of...
Well, and both of them, like, the game can really hinge on, like, those specific
on their
players.
Performances, absolutely. Yeah. So I think they are very superstitious. I was kind of looking up superstitions and just kind of some of the random crazy ones, and so I've come across a few, and these are all goalie superstitions today. So
okay,
I'm gonna kind of go in the order of like craziest to least crazy. So the first one is, least crazy to crazy.
Okay,
goalie's hitting the post in the crossbar. You see a goalie, he comes out for the beginning of the period, or he comes out, for beginning of the game or whatever, even warm up, and it's left cross or left post, right post, crossbar, something like that. That one,
they do seem to have some kind of pattern, or
exactly, and it's that sort of thing. Is there's certainly a pattern. Like, I mean, I know when I was, it almost got to an OCD point to me. When I tie my skates, it always goes right skate, left skate, and as a result, it kind of went into and it was just a pattern, right? And it was right shin pad, left shin pad, always the right before the left. And it got to a point where I would put my shoes on right before left. And that was fine, and then it got to a point where I was at a shoe store once. I was buying a pair of shoes, and the shoe salesman gave me a left shoe, and I sat there and waited until he left, and I took the right one out of the box first and put it on my foot. And that's when I was like, okay, this is a little bit obsessive compulsive. Maybe I need
I thought you were going to say like you were with a girl and you were like right boob, left boob first.
Remember that line we were talking about?
Right.
I will not divulge any further information lest I tip my hand. Anyway, hitting the post and the crossbar, that one kind of makes sense,
Everybody does that. I mean, you go play street hockey and
Exactly.
you'll probably, without thinking about it, do it.
Well, and I think a lot of it is just to kind of square yourself in the net, and it's like, okay, the posts are there, here I am. That one totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Bill Ranford was slightly superstitious. Did you know that apparently he would not allow the linesman to take the puck out of his goalie glove until he tossed it into the air and had the puck land on the backside of his glove?
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Right? I didn't either.
That's crazy.
I know, and I remember, you see the goalies do that, but I didn't realize that it got to a point where he would actually be like, no, you can't take it. Let me flip it out and put it on.
Wow.
Okay, that one's...
What would that conversation be like with the linesman
right?
who tries to take it out first?
Well,
hey, fucker, get away from my glove.
I'm just gonna take this puck from you. I don't think so. Have I flipped it yet? No.
I will cut you.
Do you see this paddle? I will not hesitate to hit you with it.
Yeah.
So that was like, okay, that's pretty crazy. And
wow, that is crazy.
Yeah, there's talking to the goalposts.
Okay.
Patrick Roy, of all people, I knew he talked to the goalposts, and it's like I think other goalies do it as well. And I don't know, man, it's lonely out on that island, but that's getting borderline crazy. That's like
Tom Hanks talking to the volleyball crazy.
Exactly. Yeah, he's gonna start calling his post iron or something like that, and it's that gets a little bit too much. But my favorite one is Mr. Pell Lindbergh, and I found this one. And basically, from the Bleacher Report, it says, Pellingberg proves that goalies are weird and have really odd and complicated superstitions, as we just investigated. He wore the same orange T-shirt under his equipment each game. If it started to fall apart, he would have it sewn up, and it was never washed. Ever.
What?
Ever. I don't think he...
How many games did he play?
I don't know. Actually, that's a really good question. I should look into that. In addition, the only thing he would drink during intermissions was a Swedish beverage called Prips.
What? I've never heard of that before.
Not only did it have to be that drink, but he could also only drink it if it had exactly 2 ice cubes in it, if it was given to him by a specific trainer, and he would only take it from the trainer with his right hand.
What? That's crazy.
I understand. Again, there got to a point where it was like right shoe, left foot, or like right shoe, left shoe. But I kind of cured myself of that. But if you're only taking a drink with your right hand because that's your superstition, that's Glenn Hall threw up before every game and then drank a glass of orange juice. Stuff like that is kind of like your pre-show ritual and everything, but I don't know. Pripps was a major brewery in Sweden and is now a part of Carlsberg, which Pripps remains. So, what, he was drinking beer between intermissions?
Beer?
It's awesome.
Wow, so that's like you putting on your shoes, right foot, left foot.
Yeah.
But your dog has to nudge the right shoe towards you, and if you pick the shoe up you have to pick it up with your right hand first.
Yeah.
And the laces can't be touching at all.
I think that's going from superstition to borderline obsessive compulsive. That is...
Oh, yeah. Oh, he was OCD.
Yeah. Like that...
Well, what happens... I always wonder with superstitions, what happens if... what if the trainer gave it to him with his left hand, say?
I think the trainer could hand it to him. It was he would only take it from the trainer with his right hand. But okay,
well, what if he accidentally took it with his left hand without thinking about it one day?
I don't know.
What happens? Does he have a meltdown? Does he just does he lose that game and subconsciously he throws it?
Do it with my right hand because we lost.
Yeah.
I don't know.
He refuses to go back on the ice. Like
I don't understand it. I mean, there was one day, the day I finally fixed my shoe issue, I was putting on a pair of loafers or a pair of flip-flops or something, and the left one happened to be stacked on top of the right one, and I was like, oh, I should fix it. You know what? Maybe I'll just put the left one on and see what happens. I put it on, and the roof didn't cave in on my head, and the world didn't explode, and like it was probably a pretty fine day. So I was like, okay, clearly I can kind of deal with this. And so I just don't know, like, what happens? What happens if, what was it called? Prips?
Yeah,
What
Prips. I think you said, yeah.
Prips were unavailable, or if the company went out of business, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I can't play anymore. Sorry.
Yeah, maybe he'd just be like, I have to announce my retirement today between periods because there's no more Prips.
Yeah,
like
exactly. I don't understand it.
That's crazy.
So, like that takes superstition to, well, as it said in the title, that Pelle Lindbergh takes superstitions to a new level. Absolutely.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's any good ones like that in the NHL right now.
I don't know. I'm gonna try to
crazy.
shut some of those down maybe for a subsequent one, because it kind of gave me
Cool.
like I'm looking for new superstitions, and I'm always looking for new stories, new.
Well, yeah. If anybody, any of our listeners, if you have a weird thing, something, or a weird scenario you want us to work through, hit us up on Twitter, Facebook. Go to our website.
Yeah.
Anything, send us your stuff.
Anything that we mentioned before, and we'll give you a shout out on the podcast, because I don't want to do all the work on my own.
Yeah, exactly. We just want to do like 3 episodes and then go on cruise control from then on out.
We'll do the work for the first few, and then you guys do the rest. So
yes,
but if you guys come across anything, let us know, because
we will make all the penis and boob and whatever kind of jokes you want. Just send them our way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so on next week's show, I believe our guests. Who do we have lined up next week, Dave?
Let me just shuffle some papers around here. Next week, I think we said we had Jerome McGinley phoning in from Boston. Is that who that was?
Yeah, and I think we have the Oilers GM Craig McTavish to come in with both sections.
Yeah, well, there you go. See,
so
play some some what happens with Craig McTavish there. So
so come back next week to hear those two guys, and we will see you guys next week.
Take it easy, guys.
That was good.
Yeah.